bit excited because my hubby gave me this wonderful gift, this Mr. Peanut Butter, but also he got me this DNA test. And this DNA test is something I've been wanting to have for a very long time, because I know something about my family background, but I just really know very little about, yeah, my ancestors. So I want to know exactly where I'm from, and this is why I got this. So let's open it up, see what's inside. And this is my kit. So this is the kit, my heritage. So I'm gonna open it up and see what's up. Pretty cool box. It opens up like that, and then, all right. So DNA kit activation reminder. And then, so in the kit, you can see it here. Two swaps. I'm getting super nervous. You have the little two little lumps there. So I'm gonna go ahead and send that out, and I'm probably gonna get it back in like 2 weeks, and then we'll find out what's my ancestry. I'm gonna come back to conclusions, if the conclusions I had were correct or not. Hi, I want to talk about Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a Canadian psychologist, author of the book 12 Rules for Life. And I was in Amsterdam, and I had the opportunity to meet Ruben, Dave Rubin from the Rubin Report, and I'm really excited to share with you. He even signed my his card, my VIP card. And well, so Jordan Peterson, and then I was in Amsterdam the next day, which I still haven't had a chance to do a resume of what went down that day in Amsterdam. Well, recently I've been benefiting from the internet sensation, psychology superstar, academic of the moment. One of the things that I've been so blessed with is the fact that he has an ability to explain things in how they relate to each other and how they connect to each other. And I'm very into old stories and the ancient stories and how they connect into the modern day narratives. It also was very refreshing because I was very, very confused, and my family was very polarized by the left and the right wing ideology, and there had been always a conflict between these two forces and these two ideologies in my life or in my household, until a couple of years ago one of my uncles came up to me and said, well, your dad is not a socialist, he's a Marxist. And it took me a little bit to realize that that was true. You know, he started the Socialist Party in Venezuela, and they're doing something, and they were moving towards a direction, but now they've been 18 years in power, and all you see is death and devastation, because it's not possible to have the socialist or the communist a regime work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work in Venezuela. It's the biggest example for this. So I'm like, I want everybody to open their eyes and notice any moment somebody wants to come and tear down the foundations of the democracy that was created through so many years and so many deaths and battles and wars. And now we're enjoying this commonwealth that has been built through centuries, and it is shameful for some people to criticize so harshly the culture that has brought so much wonderful technology to the world. I love technology, and I'm sure every millennial loves technology too. So I'm very grateful that capitalists have pushed the edge forward and developed in their industries so that we can enjoy having smartphones. And some people may think that's trivial, but smartphones connect us to people. We can record videos, a tool that allows us to be reporters of our own causes and in our own little worlds in towns and places. And I'm in the Netherlands right now, where I live in a small town in the Netherlands, and it took me about 4 hours to get from where I live to Amsterdam, and I stayed the night over. And I haven't really whined about, because I don't like to whine about stuff, but I think I have to rant about this. There's two things I'm going to rant about. There's two people I'm going to rant about. First of all, I was watching this video from this guy called Un Tío Blanco Hetero. And this guy, I think is super funny. I think he's super clever. I think he's very, very well educated. And I like his free thinking. And I think that's why when somebody says they're a free thinker, I'm super excited, because I'm also a free thinker. So I don't want to have anything bounding the possibilities of my thinking. I want to be able to think freely in every direction, towards the past and towards the future. So I don't want anybody limiting my speech. I don't want anybody limiting the things I can think that are okay and what is not okay. And so I really liked his clips, and he did an interview of Jordan Peterson. And then somehow I was watching the algorithms, probably I saw this clip about, and I clicked on it, and it wasn't him. It was just this girl, and she was ranting about this guy. And she ranted about some incoherent things and ranted some more incoherent things. And then she said something that just pissed me off, like that just upset me. She said that the problem in Venezuela is because of the radical right. What radical right in Venezuela? There's no radical right in Venezuela. Are you nuts? Like, who was the radical right in Venezuela? The people who caused the problems in Venezuela was the radical left. So wake up, darling. Wake up, buttercup. Chavez dismantled democracy and he turned into a dictator, following the footsteps of none other than Fidel Castro. And I'm just so tired that people are just clapping like seals when they hear these revolutionaries because they were in the name of the poor. Well, Fidel didn't give a rat's ass that Cuba would have been blown up just so that the Soviet Union would continue. But he was so stubborn, and there and there and there and there. And then now he dies, and this other guy takes over, and then these other clowns come to Venezuela, and look what they've done. It's just a mess. It's just a terrible mess. And this mess was caused by the left, by the radical left in Venezuela and South America. They've been causing havoc throughout the continent, from Brazil with the Lula to Argentina with Cristina. And all those socialists, shame on them. Shame on all those socialists. They had an opportunity to make something good out of the world, and they wasted it. And now it's time's up. You don't get a second chance. You've had your chance, and now it's up. It's done. So let me just because I get so excited, and it's hard for me to keep focused into one single subject. And bear with me, I'm a little bit dyslexic, and English is not my first language. I wish I could do these talks in Spanish, but I don't think anybody would listen to me. So I better stick to my English-speaking audience. Jordan Peterson, I came like a savior, like, oh, when Jordan Peterson came, it was like, exactly. I have to give you a little bit of background of me religiously, and me politically, and me spiritually. So those are three dimensions that are kind of intertwined, but I want to tell you stories separated. So I want to tell you about my religious life, about my political life, and about my spiritual life. My religious part, and I'm going to be very quick with this. So I was born into a Roman Catholic family, and I was baptized when I was like 2, 3, to a godmother and a godfather. My godmother had my god's mother had a very strong influence in me, and my godfather's parents also had a very big influence in me. My godfather's parents, and they were from Spain, and they had come to Venezuela fleeing Franco's dictatorship, and then they settled in our town, and they opened a bakery. And I remember being very small and walking into that bakery and seeing those huge mechanic things where they would make the dough to make the bread, and there were many, and it was quite industrious place, and they were quite on point with the things that they did. Godmothers, my godmother, she was like a cow woman. She was like a cow woman, and not just any kind of cow woman. She was the best cow woman ever. She won like an award for best agropecuary agriculture in our area for 7 years in a row. Pentacampeón, sextacampeón, Cira Perez. I love that woman. I should write a book about her. But anyway, going back to my roots. So I'm Catholic. I was born into a Catholic family. My grandmother was super Catholic. My grandfather, so, but my grandmother was very spiritual, and she used to pray a lot, and she used to pray in the morning, and I remember reading the Bible with her. And I loved my grandma. When she was getting older, she couldn't see anymore. So in the summer times, when we used to come visit her, because we lived in Maracaibo, and then we would go to the town where she lived. And then I would get up with her like at 5 a.m. in the morning and read for her. But she liked, and I thought, well, if that's what she likes, I'm going to do that for her. And I just read the Bible with her, not really thinking about the stories or the meaning of it or why. I mean, I always had my doubts, and I was very skeptical, but I never discussed my skepticism with my grandmother because I was too small. Bible was always something that I associate with my grandmother, and my grandmother was a woman of faith, like deep faith. She spoke in tongues. She read the Bible. She had a lot of charisma. I never seen somebody with so much charisma like my grandmother. She lived next to the church, or almost next to the church, and actually I heard later that ground where the church was built was given to the church by my grandfather and my grandma. They built almost this church that is now a cathedral. But I was very scared of the Catholic. I was scared. You're a little child and you read the New Testament, you have some kind of fear of God. You're like, well, this guy, we better watch out. This guy, killing Isaac, that were quite harsh. And I was always asking my grandma about how come this and that. And she would say, well, that's a mystery. And, and I was kind of bummed out that every question was answered with, it's a mystery. The capital sins, I was like not into that. I was 9 years old. I had the opportunity to move to the United States, to come to the United States to learn English. And my aunt's idea was that I would go there when I was young so that I would learn to speak English without an accent, that I would be able to speak like an American, so that when I grew up, nobody could tell that I was from Venezuela or that I was from Minnesota, So that was very smart on her part, because they gave me a second personality right away from when I was 9. So then I learned how to speak English, and that gave me a lot of power, because I learned how to learn something. I learned how to teach myself something, and I learned what language was, and I learned that images and language, you can connect those to sound, and then you can communicate. One of the learning things that when I went there, my aunt had converted from Catholicism to Mormonism. But this happened unintentionally. This was not meant to be. My grandmother told my aunt to go to this when she moved there. She said, the first thing you need to do is find a church, find a Catholic church, go to the Catholic church. My aunt couldn't speak English when she first got to the United States, so she went to the first church she found, and it happened to be a Mormon church. Very nice to her, and they helped her out a lot. So I guess my aunt, she stayed, in church. And when I moved there, she had already been a Mormon for a long time. She had already been practicing that faith a long time. And my aunt is very intense with her faith. She also gets seizures, gets epileptic, and she has visions and revelations and stuff. So I started learning about the truth of Jesus Christ through the Mormons. Introduced to the gospel of the Mormons, the Mormon book. And at that time I was 9, and I remember my aunt was very keen that I learn to read and that I speak English and read English, but that she really wanted me to have a habit of reading. She said, if you do something for 90 days, every day 10 minutes, you will have that habit for the rest of your life. And so I kind of did that, and around the house, there weren't really a lot of different books. So the only book I had like some stories about the Bible. I had many stories about the Bible. So I would read every day about the Bible, and then on Sunday schools I would read about the Bible. And this when I decided to convert, it was clear to me that the God that I had fear out of reading the New Testament, that then I could see the new revelation of the God that was forgiving, and also this new idea of this new concept. There was no hell. It doesn't matter if you're a sinner, there is no hell. There were only 3 heavens, if I remember correctly. So there was the above, like where God is, and then there's the stars that we see, like the planets and the celestial planets, and then there's earth, terrestrial heaven, and then there's the celestial, and then there's the other one where God exists. So God is like outside of the terrestrial heaven, living here in this ball, which is the earth. And that seemed very practical. And then we are the later day saints. I'm not a Mormon anymore. I stopped practicing Mormonism. I was trying to connect all these things together, like the ideas from the Bible, but they seemed really harsh and very weird, and I couldn't understand. But some things I really understand and stuck to me. There are some stories that I remember about the Bible, and one is about the seeds that, you throw seeds, and some seeds are gonna be falling into rocks. Some seeds are gonna be eaten by birds. Some seeds are gonna like washed by the rain, and other seeds are gonna fall right in the right spot at the right time, and then the process of germination is gonna begin. And exactly that same thing happens with souls. It's like there's many souls, but the right circumstances have to arise for that soul to grow. I've been trying to grow in my soul journey, and I've been traveling everywhere. I came from a very privileged family in Venezuela, and I had the opportunity to go to the States when I was very young and travel. And then coming back from Venezuela was a very cultural shock, because I was confronted with the reality of a third world country. And religiously, spiritually, I was still Christian, still believe in Jesus, still feel like Jesus is my homeboy. But there was something there that I couldn't still get my hands on scientifically. I couldn't understand all these things. And so I went traveling, and I went to the United States again. I went to California. And I remember in California, I got really into yoga and Zen and meditation. And Zen particularly is one of the things that I love the most. And I'm very into Zen and into meditation. And it just caught me like, oof, I love meditating and sitting there. Oh, I love it. It feels like brushing my teeth, in my mind, I'm like washing my head. And then every day for 15 minutes. No, 22 minutes I do it. In the Zen Center in San Francisco and the Green Gulch, I was volunteering there for a while. And then in Hawaii, I was in Maui, and I went there to some Hindu temples to find myself, find everything I want. I should relax more, the Hindu truth, and I found about Tantra. And then I was obsessed about Tantra. And I was obsessed, and through Tantra, then I got it into neurology and neuroscience. And I don't know where that splitting, I think the splitting happened after this meeting 2 malevolent people. Then I had a splitting where I thought, well, maybe God doesn't exist, because these guys are showing me that they don't believe in God and they're trying to kill me. So, survive, by the way. A spiritual journey. So I went to Hawaii, and then I was practicing puja there and sitting there and meditating. And then I think I came to the Netherlands later on in Berlin in 2001 when the Twin Towers fell, studying German as a technical language at the University of Berlin. And I had never been in the Netherlands, but I was always wanting curious about it. And then I went back to the States. I was in California, and I studied in College of Marin. I studied graphic design, photography with arts and composition or something like that. And I was singing a lot. And I was performing a lot, and I was on it. I was doing yoga, and I was reading One of my favorite places was this little in San Rafael. This is the Open Secret bookstore, and I would spend hours there reading books. And no, there was the internet, but I didn't have cell phone. I didn't have internet on my cell phone. There was internet, and actually we had to go to the libraries to use the internet from the libraries that they. In San Francisco, I used to go to the Haight and Ashbury Library. I used to go there and read all the books I could get my hands on. And also go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. And then I just had arrived in San Francisco, I guess. And I came to the Netherlands, and then I started to learn about Islam. And I don't know if I want to say anything about that. I mean, I don't have to share my whole life with the world. I mean, there are some things I want to keep secret. The future will tell if that's a good idea or not. But I don't want to get in trouble. I'm already afraid that I'm going to get in trouble for making this video. But I've studied the Quran, so I've read the books that if you want to convert into Islam, you have to read the books. And when I was reading them, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. Like, this makes a lot more sense. It's like there's more detail in this, in the origin of certain things than in other things that I've read. But I was oversimplifying everything, and I thought the simplification was too much, and I really wanted to go to Mecca. I really wanted to go to Mecca. I think that because I'm into very religions and spiritual things, so I wanted to go to secret sites. But I was always told that it was impossible if you're not a Muslim. So I looked into converting myself into Muslims just so that I could go to Mecca, not really to do it, but actually just to be able to be there in Mecca, because you can only go there if you're a Muslim. Then I had an intimation with that religion, and I felt, okay, this is not it. Then I started feeling like there was no God, and I got into atheism. I loved it. Oh my God. I got into Sam Harris, and I loved it. I was like, this is music to my ears, and I love what you're saying, and I totally see it. And this is fantastic, and I love it. But there was still something in the background, like saying, but how is it possible that this is just created out of nowhere, out of nothing, and then for no reason at all, when everything is so conscious and alive and perfect? Like, makes no sense. The atheist. But I like the way he debates. I really like that. To talk about ideas, not to just be dogmatic or to have taboos or try to stop us from discussing our truths in our lives. So that was my little bit there. Thanks to Jordan Peterson, I've come to appreciate my Judeo-Christian background, and all the stories about me studying the Bible with my grandmother have come back, and I'm having revelations, and I'm having very special dreams, and I'm trying to document, and I'm trying to share as much as I can of this wonderful memories I have from the faith of my grandparents and how much I miss them. And wherever they are, I'm just so thankful that they taught me all those things, and how to take care of myself, and how to be prosperous, and how to be responsible, and how to be a good person. Bye.